Do any of you ever sort of feel like you're living life out of sync with your true identity and purpose? Like, are you ever sometimes uneasy that the life you live has little to do with who you are and why you're here? Like, do you ever feel there just must be more? So could this be one of the subtle root causes of the problem? I've heard kids say, I'm free to go ahead and sin all I want because I know God's just going to forgive me. Romans 6:15. What then are we to conclude? Shall we throw ourselves into a life of sin because we're not under law but under grace? Like, since I can't be righteous on my own by following the law, why even bother trying to avoid sin? Like, if Jesus did everything to forgive me and make me righteous, then why even worry about sin? I mean, sin can't harm me since I'm covered by grace, right? Right? Well, I think sometimes we might have a little touch of amnesia. We forget that the side effects of habitual sin were quite sucky. Romans 6:16. Absolutely not. Don't you remember from your own experience that when you give yourselves over to someone or something to do their will, you are their slaves? Whether you are slaves to sin, which leads to death, or slaves to obedience, which leads to righteousness. Remember how when you gave yourself over to sin, it became this tyrannical master calling the shots? Like, you became addicted to sin like it was a drug, and it just consumed your mind, and you needed bigger and bigger hits to get the same buzz. Did you like how sin got its hooks in you and refused to let you go, making you its puppet? Didn't you feel out of sync with your true self and the real reason you're here? Well, the cool thing is God's whole deal is to get you in sync. Romans 6:17-18. But by God's grace, though you used to be slaves to sin, you wholeheartedly obeyed the formational truth given to you. You've been set free from sin and have become slaves of righteousness. See, slaves to sin is who you used to be. But your decision, obedience, and commitment to receive the truth of His grace has and is forming a new identity in you. Your old identity was all about the sin you grabbed for, but your new identity in Christ is all about the righteousness that He's given you. He set you free from slavery to sin, and now your new identity is slave to righteousness. Well, that's contradictory. Set free from slavery to become a slave? Well, He's creatively saying here that you have a new master. And it sure as heck ain't sin. See, God is a loving master who releases you to be who you really are and to serve the purpose that you were intended for. See, now that is freedom. So, does sinning it up show your true identity and live out your real purpose? Well, that's a definite recipe for living life out of sync with a false self and a shadow purpose. But grace powerfully changes who you are, giving you the power to change how you live. And wouldn't you rather go down in history living in sync with your true identity and purpose?